boats here. There was a time when there were 250 stern wheelers operating on Alaskan rivers, 9 of which would come up and down the Chena River here to that boatyard we showed you earlier. Because Jim Benson worked on those vessels summer after summer. And got to know a lot of very interesting people who lived out along the route. Miners and trappers and traders and missionaries, prospectors, all kinds of folks. But it was the native people that he enjoyed meeting the most. And that's why we still get to share these cultures with you so prominently as part of this experience. And I want to introduce you to another one of the young people that's going to do that. Captain Matty did mention earlier that there's no keel on this boat. That's a structural truth, but not in terms of personnel, because this young man's name is Keel. And we are glad to have him on board. He's an Athabascan Indian from Alicatnit originally. Just graduated from high school here and is going to study at the University of Alaska on the Anchorage campus. So he won't be too far away, and we hope we'll keep seeing him up here in the summer. That's Keel on our Alaskan end. Then we'll go down to our boiler deck, the second deck, and introduce you to Robin. She is part Athabascan and part Eskimo, so she's got both of these major cultures in her background. Her family is from Caltech. She's going to be a senior in high school, and this is her second year with us on the boat, so she's got a lot to teach you. Robin, nice to see you. And then on our Texas deck, the third deck, we'll introduce you to Levi, who is a Nupiaq Eskimo. This is his second year on the boat as well, a sophomore in high school. And he's going to learn things at the Culver Academy for hockey. Because holy moly, what a goalie. You try and get a puck past this kid, good luck. Today, native educator. So again, good to have him with us too, Levi. And part of that education is going to include how human beings were able to survive in this part of the world 10 or 12,000 years ago with none of our modern conveniences, but all the challenges of this climate. Summer days in the 80s and 90s, it's already been 90 degrees once this summer. We may be headed that way again next week. But winter, 40 or 50 below. In fact, the coldest recorded temperature for this region is minus 72. And on the winter solstice, it's dark, 21 3/4 hours of the day. And you try to imagine surviving in conditions like that, in a little shelter made of spruce tree parts and caribou hide, following the food wherever it goes, not putting down roots or claiming land, but staying completely nomadic. That's how people survive. And the key to it really was their innovative use of everything around them, never letting anything go to waste, especially whether you harvest the moose or caribou, salmon, or a beaver. If you don't make something, or if you don't eat that part, then you make something out of it. You'll learn a lot about that here. Then, about a century and a half ago, people from other parts of the world started migrating up here for various reasons, and the natives began to settle in more permanent villages like the one you see to the right, to establish trade. This is the Chena village, where we'll be stopping to explore after we turn around, and you'll get to look around the living museum here. Laid out much like the villages Jim would see on freight runs years ago. And we're going to learn about fish camp from a young lady who knows a thing or two about it, having been out there over her lifetime. This is Shondine over to our right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Here I have a chunk salmon. Now when you folks turn around and head back upriver, I'll show you how we cut this, turn it into food for our dogs, and I'll share some fish camp life with you.
Okay, that'll be a good education and an introduction to a subsistence lifestyle. Fishing in the summer, trapping in the winter, hunting in the fall. You look at these woods to the right over here, maybe you could imagine 1,000 years ago, native family hunting for moose or caribou, moving through the trees very quietly with bone-tipped spears, hoping they'd see some of those, actually. Right ahead of us there, coming into about our 3 o'clock position off the bow.
Moose.
On your TV monitor.
Caribou. Caribou.
Now, isn't that a coincidence?
They just let them out.
Yeah, we knew they'd be there.
They came running.
But see, here's the point. Coming upon animals like this 1,000, 3,000 years ago, however long, would have been an opportunity to survive. Your life and death depends on success or failure in the hunt. Because there's meat for food, hides for clothing and shelter, gut, bone, sinew, antler, and every little bit useful. What you see in the pen here is, of course, domesticated Rangifer tarandus, the same genus and species as wild caribou. These are reindeer, but in all the ways that really matter, they're virtually indistinguishable from their wild cousins. For example, they change color with the season. See how these three farthest to the right are completely in their summer coat, that nice thin dark brown coat? Then in the winter, everybody grows in a thick white coat. So they always blend in with their surroundings. Natural camouflage. And every strand of hair on them is hollow. There's actually air trapped inside, which makes them naturally buoyant and insulates them in the wintertime. They also have really big feet. Those wide split hooves there that help them keep their footing on snow or spongy tundra. And when their food's buried in the winter, they can shovel right down to the moss and lichen that keep them alive during that time of year. In fact, that word caribou is actually Mi'kmaq for deer who paws the ground. And both male and female grow antlers too. That might strike you as odd if you're familiar with other types of deer. This is the only type where that happens. Some of you might have thought ran a bunch of males out, but can't tell for sure unless you peek under the hood. And both sexes are going to drop those antlers later too. They're not permanent like horns. See how they're all in velvet right now? They have that furry coating of skin. That's protecting the blood supply underneath while the antlers grow in. But then once they get closer to the rut, they'll rub all of that velvet off like an old scab. Have mahogany colored antlers for a bit. Then after they reproduce, the antlers start falling right off onto the ground. Males lose theirs first. The females keep theirs for longer in order to defend the young, and then females eventually lose theirs and everybody grows new ones. And those calves can be up and running with the herd in under 24 hours. Very capable young. There are 32 distinct herds in Alaska, totaling anywhere from 750,000 to 1 million animals. And this was just a preview, by the way. You're going to get to see them again when we go on shore, because the guides will take you right up close, take some fabulous pictures from just a few feet away, go home and make up any story you want. So, farewell to them, and we'll see the reindeer again pretty soon.
Come out there, show your face, do your thing, come back here.
Captain Matty Binkley is bringing us to the end of the Chena River right up here. It's been running about 90 miles through interior Alaska, but it concludes that journey right up off our bow and joins with the waters of the largest glacial-fed river system on the planet, the Tanana River. And as we get closer, you're not going to have any trouble seeing which one is which, because the water changes pretty dramatically in appearance. You'll see it on the screen and up off the bow. This river we've been in so far, the Chena, is spring and runoff fed, so that's why its water is darker and clearer. It's a little greenish from the algae. But look ahead of us where the two rivers come together, and I'm actually going to challenge you to not think of this moment in your life every time you put half and half in your coffee from now on. Because that's just what it looks like here. There's a tremendous silt load in the Tanana, crushed up rock that's so soft and fine, it isn't any grittier than baking flour. Go right through the gills of migrating salmon and it doesn't affect them. And you see these big clouds of it where the rivers come together. It's a neat effect, almost like flying over a volcano. This material is very light, stays in suspension just about all the way to the end of the Tanana where it joins with the Yukon. Creates these neat patterns because it's natural, it's not because we're here. There's a temperature differential of about 10 degrees between these two rivers, which holds the silted bay.